Good afternoon, everyone. So recently I did a video talking about the perfumes that I took out of my little perfume cabinet, the winter fragrances that I didn't think I would be wearing over the next few months. And today I'm showing you what I brought into my perfume cabinet. So on top here we have 1472 by Histoire de Parfum. This is a really lovely, interesting yellow floral fragrance. It's got a lot of ylang in it, but it also has a smoky element to it, which I find really interesting. So on the one hand, it's really lovely for the warmer months, but at the same time, there's sort of a bit of a darkness to it, a bit of a noirness to it, which I really like. And I think I'm actually going to take this on holiday with me in a few weeks' time. We're going to Thailand for a friend's wedding, and I just think that this might work really nicely for evenings in Thailand. I also have a bottle of Clean Musk by Sarah Horowitz Parfums. Sarah Horowitz is a US perfumer. She has some really lovely scents. I quite like a lot of her sort of white musky kind of fragrances. This one does really well in the heat, and the reason these two are sitting on top of the cabinet here is because they actually at the moment are living on top of my dresser on the other side of the room, because I am pretty much wanting to reach for them regularly at the moment. So down here we have a bunch of fragrances that were already in the cabinet. You would have seen them go into the rotation, I don't know, several months ago probably. These are ones that I'm just not ready to take out of the cabinet yet, even though it's starting to warm up, and maybe some of these won't be as suitable for the warmer weather, but I feel like these are good transition weather scents. Today it's really warm here, and I'm sort of looking at these going, there's probably only one or two that I would actually reach for in this weather, but at the same time we're kind of up and down with the weather at the moment, so there's a very good chance that it'll cool down again in the coming weeks. So to start with, I have Ambre Narguile by Hermes. This is one that I got for my birthday, you might recall, and I'm just not ready to take it out yet, so that's staying. Then I have Ylang Nosy Bee by Paris Monte Carlo. I love this fragrance. It probably is one that I would struggle to wear in the hot months, but in the transition period I think it still works for me, and yeah, it's just a lovely powdery vanilla and ylang fragrance. Next up we have Allure by Chanel. This is the Eau de Parfum version. I still really adore this fragrance, and I can wear this pretty much all year round anyway, because it is just one of those kinds of fragrances that you can wear anytime. But I do tend to gravitate towards it for the purposes of wearing to work and things. It's kind of a serious fragrance to me. Next up is another one that I could definitely wear all year round. This is Elysees by Ylang. I heard a rumor recently that this has been discontinued. I'm really hoping that's not the case, but if it has, then I will cherish this bottle that I have, because I really do love this. This smells like a really lovely, expensive skin lotion. It's a beautiful, light spring floral fragrance that has just a creaminess to it that, I don't know, makes it seem a little bit more rich. Next, I have Seville l'Aube by L'Artisan Parfumeur. I still have not worn this very much since I've had it, but I really love the scent. I just struggle to find the occasion to wear it, so I really just need to keep persisting with it because I love the scent itself. And as for the scent, I guess it's kind of a resinous orange blossom that's not too sweet. Next up we have Velvet Splendour by Goldfield & Banks. I have talked about this a lot, particularly in the last year or so. I love this fragrance. It's based on mimosa, it's very opulent, and I really like the name Velvet Splendour because I feel like it has a velvety texture, so I think the name actually fits the fragrance. So Nude by Costume National. You will have heard me talk about this quite a bit as well. A really enigmatic, spicy tuberose. I really love this one. It's not too sweet either. And I actually did decant a bit of this to take on holiday with me next month. Next up we have Mia's Blend by Be Layered. Actually, I don't know if this is on this shelf, but I don't know if this was in the previous rotation or not. I feel like I only just recently brought this up here. Anyway, this is a myrrh dominant ambery type of fragrance. The reason I like this one is because it's quite airy as well. It's not too heavy and dense, so it does actually work really well in the warmer months. I've worn this in summer, and it's been a while since I've actually worn it, but I think I do recall it is quite peppery as well. Next up is Amyris Femme by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This has actually started to get a bit of airtime on YouTube lately. So I've noticed a few people have, kind of recently discovered this, or they've pulled it out of their collection and started wearing it again. And so it's just nice to see, fragrances that have been around for a while come into the spotlight every once in a while. And I do like this one, but sometimes I find it a little bit too sweet, because it is vanilla dominant still, even though it's got that sort of interesting, woodsy, herbaceous, amorous kind of floral element. It's really interesting, but I do really love it in the cooler months, or especially in the transition months. Even though actually it is primarily, I think, suited to the warmer months because it's very sparkly. Next up we have Ralph Lauren Woman, bubblegummy tuberose that has a woody base that balances out the sweetness of the tuberose, so it doesn't come off as sweet as you think it's going to when you first spray it on. When you first spray it on, it's very sweet, and for that reason I ignored it for a very long time. I had it in my collection. I had a bigger bottle of this too, which I sold, and then I had this little 30 ml that came with it in a gift pack. This has been a pleasant surprise for me. I actually wore this a few months ago to test it to see if I would declutter it, and because I wore it for the whole day, I realized that I actually quite like it because the dry down is not as sweet as the opening. And I think I got a compliment from somebody in the store as well. Next up is Insolence by Ylang. This is the EDT. This is my favorite of the two, the EDP and the EDT. I did sell my bottle of the EDP. This is a candied violet fragrance, but I find the EDT to be a little bit more airy, not quite as sweet and syrupy as the EDP, and perhaps just a touch more powdery as well, which is really lovely. Next up is one that was gifted to me by my hairdresser a couple of years ago. This is Untitled by Maison Martin Margiela. This is a really lovely green floral fragrance, which has kind of, again, like a smoky element to it. It's quite woody. Did I say it was woody? It's quite woody, and but you've got those beautiful green florals in there as well, which I really enjoy. Next up, this one pretty much lives in this cabinet. I'm never taking it out. This is Shangri-La by Hiram Green, Discontinued, beautiful, spicy amber fragrance. This is all natural fragrance, no synthetic aroma chemicals in here, and very, very well done. But anyway, that is Shangri-La by Hiram Green. And then last up for this shelf is Chanel No. 19, the Eau de Parfum version. This is another one that was gifted to me actually by a work colleague from a previous job. And as it turns out, we're working for the same organisation again in my current job, which is pretty funny. But you're probably aware this is a green floral fragrance. There's a hefty dose of galbanum in here. There's also a bit of iris, and I don't know what other florals are in here. I think some white florals, but I adore this fragrance. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll go down first, because down here is just a couple of randoms that I've put down here. This one was sitting on top of my chest of drawers because I was reaching for it pretty much on a nightly basis a few weeks ago when I first changed the perfume cabinet over. This is Xi'an by Ormond Jane. I love, love, love this fragrance. I think this is a bamboo floral kind of fragrance. It's very, very calming, and I adore it. This is a fragrance called Merveilleux by a company called Wick & Co. I think they're an Australian perfume brand, but I haven't seen much of them lately. I recall they made a bit of a splash on Instagram in Australia a couple of years ago, but I haven't really heard anything about them recently, so I don't know if they're still around. This is sort of a musky rose fragrance. It's probably a little bit on the sweet side for me for this kind of fragrance. I feel like I would enjoy this better if it wasn't quite as sweet as it is, but it is a very nice, light, fluffy, rose musky fragrance, and it's perfect for spring. And then over here I have one of my favorites. This is French Leather by Mimo Paris. This is such a classy fragrance. It's a beautiful rose coupled with a leather base, and the leather is, I want to say it reminds me of a beige leather, and it's just so elegant and subtle and lovely. And I'm sad that we're coming into summer because it is one that I don't normally wear in the heat, but I do love it in winter time and in the transition months. So spring is my last opportunity to wear it, and then it'll probably go away for the summer. Okay, so now we're getting to the shelves that have the bulk of the new fragrances coming in. So, well, they're not new, they just haven't been seen by me in a while. So this is Tonka Imperiale by Ylang. I love, love, love this fragrance. I have another one of these bottles, but it has the, you know, the bulb atomizer on it. I just can't bring myself to get rid of it just yet because I do love the fragrance. But this is one of the wonderful spray atomizers that you can actually take this part off. So maybe when I finish this bottle, I will decant the stuff from the other bottle into here. Next up is Tapis Volant by Liquid Imaginaire. This is a really lovely iris fragrance. It's got a very noticeable vegetal carrot note in it, and I really, really love it. And I don't give it enough love, so I've brought it up because, yeah, like I said, I haven't really given it much love considering how much I actually really adore this fragrance. So I need to wear it more. Paris-Venise by Chanel. I don't know if that's how you say it or not. Just a really lovely, bright, sparkly, fruity floral, and I decanted a little bit of this for my holiday as well. Here we have Chypre 1942 by Nobile 1942. This is a really lovely Chypre fragrance. It's very bright and golden in the opening, and then it dries down to be quite soapy actually, and quite woodsy, which I really enjoy. So that is Chypre 1942. You've seen this one before in my videos, definitely. This is Paradis Lointains by Allure. Again, just a really lovely, fresh floral fragrance. I think there's a bunch of florals in here. I can't even remember the notes now, but I think there might also be a blackcurrant note or something in it. Anyway, it's a fruit note that I normally don't gravitate towards, but in this, it's really, really lovely. It's a beautiful fragrance. Next up, I have Kintsugi by Musk Milano. I do love this fragrance as well. Again, I've talked about this quite a bit. It's very golden and floral, and I like to say it's hay-like, but I'm not sure a lot of people agree with me on that. But it's very golden to me. I love it. Next up, I have Idle by Ylang. I don't actually wear this one very much, but it's a very light, airy floral. And given that I'm really into the light, breezy florals at the moment, I thought this might be a perfect one to pull out and have a bit of a wear. Having said that, I haven't worn it yet. It's also quite musky from my recollection. So it's got like a white musk base in it, but I think it's got florals like freesia and things like that. So it's very light. It's very pretty. Perhaps the odd one out of the ones that I pulled out to bring up is Misfit by Artiste. This is kind of a dark fragrance actually. I mean, it's patchouli, which can lean a little bit chocolatey, I suppose, but it's very musky. It's like a skin musk kind of fragrance, and the patchouli in it is quite dominant. And I really, really like this. It's extremely addictive. I remember when my friend Emma bought this very bottle, and in fact I was with her when she bought it, and I remember thinking, oh, that smells really good. But I was trying to be good at the time and didn't want to launch in and buy a bottle. But as it turns out, she stopped wearing it, so she sold the bottle to me, which is great. Next up is Shalimar Souffle d'Oranger. I have worn this quite a bit already since bringing this up because I took it away on a work trip and I did wear it a few days out of that 1 week. So just a really lovely vanillic orange blossom neroli type of fragrance. I think it's quite unique for an orange blossom neroli type of fragrance, but a lot of people don't like it because the neroli in here is quite green. I think there's also petitgrain in here, so it is a little bit different, and I really love this. I'm trying to speed up because my battery's running low. So this is Amouage Reflection Woman. This is a very lovely watery floral fragrance, primarily lily if I recall, and it's one of the few aquatic fragrances that I can enjoy and actually handle. So this is actually one that I kind of like to wear in winter because I find it very refreshing. Tuiles d'Hermès by Hermès. Again, took this on a work trip recently, so I have already worn this a couple of times. Really enjoying this one. I don't really give it enough attention. Like the Tapis Volant, I tend to ignore this or just overlook it for some reason, but when I do wear it, I always remember thinking, wow, I should wear it more. This is Dragon Boat by Thione Reintel Parfums. She's a natural perfumer based here in Brisbane, has a global reach if you haven't already heard of her, but if you've watched any of my channel, you probably would have heard of her several times over. I love her fragrances. She blends her fragrances so beautifully, and I don't know, I just really rate them. I think she does a fantastic job, and I think she uses really top quality ingredients, and on top of that she also happens to be an absolutely delightful human being as well. So Thione Reintel Parfums. Yes. Do I need to say more? I've already talked about this quite a bit. Amouage Honor 43. This is the bottle that I bought myself for my birthday because it became available at a very hard to resist price, and I am so grateful that it did. I love it. I just decanted a bit to take on holiday with me, and it's just a really beautiful white floral fragrance. It's not too sweet. I want to say it's mostly tuberose, but you know what Amouage fragrances are like. They're just bombastic and have so much going on. But it's also got quite a green bent to it in the opening, but it settles down into this beautiful, creamy, white floral and not too sweet and just so elegant, and I love it. Next up we have Voile de Jasmin by Bulgari. This is a really old bottle now, so I'm kind of at the point of saying to myself, Cherie, just use it up. It's also lost its lid, so more than likely it'll be evaporating as well. So I want to enjoy it. It doesn't have huge projection or presence, but it's one of those ones where I smell it on myself and I think I smell really good. So it's beautiful for the hot weather. And then up here we have the final bunch. So we have La Chasse aux Papillons, which again I've talked about ad nauseum. This is a really lovely, breezy, floral fragrance. It's very airy. Linden blossom I think is the primary floral note, but there's other things. I mean, I imagine again things like freesia and stuff like that in there because it's just so airy and light and pretty and perfect for spring. I also have the body lotion for that, which I love to layer with it. L'air du Desert Marocain by Andy Tower. You don't need me to tell you about this because everyone else has already talked about it so much. Again, I took this on a work trip with me recently and enjoyed it immensely. I was going to a very cold place, so it worked perfectly for the evening functions. And then we have Gris Dior by Dior. Again, this has been talked about quite a lot in the fragrance community over the years. Just a really lovely rose patchouli scent, very light, very airy, and with just a hint of sweetness, so it's really gorgeous. I think it's got a strawberry note in it. Champs Lumière by Rogue Perfumery. Oh, I love Rogue Perfumery. And I have my eye on a bottle of Tuberose and Moss, also by Rogue Perfumery. I can't wait until my no buy is over because that'll be probably the first thing I buy. But this is just another tuberose fragrance, and it's sort of a tuberose vanilla fragrance. So it's interestingly not super sweet. Again, it's really, the tuberose is very natural in here, but absolutely adore it. Totally worth checking out if you like tuberose. Rose Amazon by Hermes. This is a really lovely ozonic rose fragrance. It's very airy, very sparkly, very fruity as well. And the thing that I really love about this is it's kind of like the Delina for the more mature leaning fragrance lover. So if you find Delina to be too playful and youthful and you just don't feel like yourself in it, then I highly recommend checking this out. It doesn't have it listed in the notes, but I'm pretty sure there is that characteristic Hermes leather in the base as well. Here we have Lost Alice by Musk Milano. This was a bottle that was sent to me by Max Aroma recently, and I absolutely adore it. This is not one that I thought I would love. Turns out I do. But then I love a lot of Musk Milano fragrances. I will try and get around to sharing with you the other things that Max Aroma sent to me from Musk Milano as well. So that's coming up soon. Stay tuned. Dioramour, I've talked about this as well. I really love this. It's a really beautiful, light, airy sort of iris fragrance that also is quite cold leaning. Like it feels sort of blue to me, which I guess iris flowers are blue, or like a purpley blue. So I guess that suits. But it is kind of a cool, I wouldn't say it's standoffish, but it's definitely not the most warm and inviting iris fragrance you've ever smelled, but it is absolutely stunning. Just a hint of powder, just beautiful. Here we have Elysees Essence No. 7 Neroli. I love this one because it's not your typical neroli. It's not as dense as a lot of other neroli fragrances can be, and also it has, I think it's a bit woody as well. There's sort of citrus in the top, but then I think it has a woody base because it sort of gets to be a little bit darker in the dry down, which makes it very well suited to evenings, I think. Here we have Sampaquita by Ormond Jane. Again, I've talked about this a bazillion times. It's based off the Sampaquita flower. It's just a really lovely white floral fragrance in my opinion, and just has the slightest tinge of soapiness to it. So it actually works really well for the office and for the warmer months because it's very clean smelling. Here we have Tuberose in Blue, another wonderful airy floral fragrance. In this one, the tuberose is also coupled with florals like freesia and I think carnation as well. So it is very light and airy and breezy. Again, not too sweet and just gorgeous. I just love it. Next up, we have Sunshine Woman by Amouage. This is one that I tend to wear more in the cooler months actually, but we're still in the transition months and I definitely intend to continue taking advantage of having it in my wardrobe. I sort of go off and on it every once in a while. I tend to put it away and not want to wear it, but I did feel like wearing it a few weeks ago and so I pulled it out, and I have worn it a few times, but I will definitely be trying to wear it a little bit more in the coming weeks. And then finally, next up we have L'Orpheline by Serge Lutens. This is a really interesting fragrance. It's very primarily woody, I think, but it's also very cold and maybe just a hint smoky. And I don't know if it's got florals in here or if, you know, what the florals would be, but it's sort of very cold, and I guess I want to say it kind of reminds me of the smell of vinyl, but in a way that I find to be entirely wearable compared to other things that have been a little bit more avant-garde and with a vinyl note. But it's kind of like this woody, smoky vinyl. Very interesting. I really like it, but it's just not the type of thing you could pick up any old time and wear, I don't think. Oh no, the camera overheated momentarily, so it cut out. It sounds terrible, but it really isn't. It's really interesting and entirely wearable. Okay, so that's it. That concludes the spring perfume rotation video. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for joining me, and let me know what you are wearing in the transition months. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.